I'd like to call this meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, thank you to everybody who is joining us in person this evening and those who are joining remotely. Michelle, do we have any agenda changes?
I do have a couple changes since Friday. I did add a couple of lines on the agenda. B, the approval for a seeker, and E, the approval of an emergency project, as well as an updated personnel report, a hard copy is there for you to take a look at. And that's it.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
We, at this time, will receive agenda-related public comments. I was notified that, Mr. John Eisenhower would like to address the board, so I'll call you up, sir.
Thank you. My name is John Eisenhower. I reside at 23795 Woodland Drive, Watertown, New York. Notwithstanding my residential address, I live within the confines of the town of Luray. In his epic poem, Marmion, Sir Walter Scott wrote, "Oh, what a tangled web we weave when first we practice to deceive." My comments tonight are directed toward agenda item 6A, an email request that I made on December 16, 2023, asking two things of this board. The December request follows from my November 2023 request that the Watertown City School District, as the entity spending taxpayer money, take necessary action to ensure that the Flower Memorial Library Board of Trustees complies with all aspects of the New York State Open Meetings Law. In response to that, an administrator replied in part, quote, "I wanted to inform you that the district lacks the power or authority over the operations of the library or its compliance with applicable laws," end quote. Yet school district taxpayers pay a tax to fund the operations of this library. As you know, when I first challenged the library tax in court, Judge McCluskey, in an opinion affirmed by the Fourth Department and addressing our equal protection and due process claims as to the lack of ability of the school district to protect taxpayers' interests, stated in effect that if petitioners have a complaint with the library, their recourse is through the body spending the taxpayer money, the school district in this case, not with a challenge to the library. I'm struggling to see how the administration's reply comports with Judge McCluskey's opinion. Apparently, the only way that this board may do that is through the power of the purse, or by submitting a proposition to voters to end the appropriation by its own volition. Those are the actions that I asked for in my December email. Following this board's rejection of a voter-submitted ballot proposition for the May 2023 school district election to end the library tax, in part on the basis that the trustees did not approve the proposition, and the administration's reply to my November 2023 request, I'm very concerned that the Board of Education has surrendered the power of taxation to unelected library trustees, a body that could be constituted wholly of non-school district residents. Such action would constitute a violation of Section 1, Article 16 of the New York State Constitution, which starts with, quote, "The power of taxation shall never be surrendered, suspended, or contracted away," end quote. Recall that this is the same Constitution that you took an oath to support when you assumed your offices. It is fair for me to ask you to honor your sworn oath, is it not? Following this board's claim in an appeal to the Fourth Department that there is no requirement for library trustees' approval to place a proposition to end the annual library appropriation in front of voters, when such proposition was actually submitted by voters, the board rejected it, in part by telling the Commission of Education that it was not approved by library trustees. Some would call that an inconsistent position, whereas others would opine that this board lied to either the Fourth Department or the New York State Education Department Commissioner. As you know, my appeal of that rejection is pending a decision by the Commissioner. If this board rejects my December request to act independently, then I'm left to believe that this board lacks the integrity, intellect, and/or courage to represent school district voters in relation to the library tax. If you believe that the positions you took in front of a court of law are sound, then you should act in accordance with those positions, regardless of any potential challenge by the library board or any other entity. If you do not believe that they are sound and you want to act in opposition to prior representations to the courts, then you should go back to Judge McCluskey in the Fourth Department and advise them of the errors of your prior claims so that the truth-seeking function of the courts is not further corrupted by your actions. Indeed, in the New York State Court of Appeals decision in 1993, Greater Poughkeepsie Library District versus Town of Poughkeepsie, New York's highest court stated the following in part. The power to tax may not, however, be delegated to administrative agencies or other governmental departments. It would be incompetent for the legislature to leave to a state officer or department the power to determine whether a tax should be levied, or at what rate, or upon what property. In this case, you as elected representatives of school district voters appear to be taking a position completely contrary to that New York State Court of Appeals precedent, and that you appear to have delegated to unelected, unaccountable library trustees who don't even have to be school district residents the power to determine whether or not voters within the district may vote to eliminate the library tax. If you claim that you can't act regarding the library tax without trustee approval, then you're giving them the power to determine whether the tax should continue to be levied, at what rate, and upon what property. As the New York State Court of Appeals has found, such a construct is unconstitutional. Indeed, if you're being advised by your legal counsel to pursue this path, the New York State Court of Appeals has deemed such an approach as incompetent, and you may want to get a second opinion. Furthermore, I remind you all of your obligations under District Policy 30, Code of Ethics, for all district personnel, which states, quote, the standard of conduct expected of every district officer or employee is that they will not engage in any conduct that calls into question the integrity of the management or operation of the district. An officer or employee must avoid circumstances that compromise their ability to make decisions solely in the public interest or create an appearance of impropriety. Surely a violation of the Constitution would be an impropriety. So in closing, I restate my request that you suspend the further transfer of any school district taxpayer money to the library and place a proposition on the May 2024 school district election ballot to end the library appropriation of your own volition without seeking approval of the library board of trustees. Thank you.
Thank you for your remarks, Mr. Eisenhower. Is there anyone else here tonight wishing for agenda-related public comment? No? Okay. Michelle, do we have any communications? Okay, moving right along to board and staff reports. It is my pleasure to turn the mic over to Ashley Barnhart-Berto, the principal at my alma mater here at Knickerbocker.
Thank you. Welcome to Knickerbocker. I am the building principal, Ashley Barnhart-Berto. At your seats, you will find a shirt. This shirt is something that I gave to all the faculty and staff at Knickerbocker, Dr. Schmeigel, Mrs. Gaffney, and Miss Lane to start the school year. I wanted them to have a nice, just welcome back, something to wear on Fridays. I thought it was, and I did share it with some of the elementary principals as well. So just something from Knickerbocker to all of you. We appreciate the tireless hours that you spend helping make our district better. So at this time, I'd like to begin. And our student voice is embedded in our presentation. That is just from one of our music concerts. I thought it'd be nice to start with some of from our music department. So a quick snapshot of Knickerbocker. We have 369 total students, grades K through 4. That's not including our pre-K. Our lowest grade is kindergarten, where we have 68 students. Our biggest grade, our largest, is our first grade with 80. And that's primarily male students. So we're very heavy with males versus females in first grade, actually. Our second grade has 75, third is at 70, and our fourth grade has 70 students. We have 67 teachers, and we have 27 school-related professionals in our building.
My favorite part of Knickerbocker is snack time.
What is your name? So this is Marcello. He is in Miss Linnemeyer's class. We did ask, and it's embedded throughout the presentation, some of our students and our staff members what their favorite part of Knickerbocker was or is.
Hi, I'm Lynn Riebar. I'm the nurse at Knickerbocker, and my favorite part of working here is the staff and how friendly everybody is and how they work together.
From Mr. Artie's class, we do have Noah.
Hi, my name is Noah, and the favorite food I like is Knickerbocker is my teacher.
This teacher. And I think it's fitting that we always look at our mission statement. So our mission statement is Watertown City School District is committed to building a caring culture that fosters lifelong learners and responsible citizens. We have lots of new staff at Knickerbocker. Some have come from other buildings, some are new hires. In first grade, we have Lauren Girardi. Another first grade teacher, we have Jaren Burnham. Third grade, Taylor Pettit. She came in January last year, but I still thought it was fitting to because this is her first year, full year at Knickerbocker. So she is a third grade teacher. We have a new E&L teacher, Jenna Percy, our school counselor, Gabby Navarra, a cluster aide, Alicia Esther Roses Ochoa, teacher's assistant, Michaela Levine. She actually was a kindergarten aide and now she is a teacher's assistant. So that was very exciting for her and for our building. Another teacher's assistant, we have Dakota Sloat. Again, someone that was in our building last year, but now is in a different position. A one-to-one aide, Susanna Countryman, one-to-one, Lucy Diaz, one-to-one, Rosie Calhoun, who came to us from Wiley. We have a one-to-one, Delana Countryman, Tunaco, one-to-one, Shatika Oldsby, a kindergarten aide, Michelle Young, who came to us from Sherman, a head custodian, Mike Goodwin, and our one of our night custodians, we have two, but a new one is Amy DeShane. So we have lots of new friendly faces at Knickerbocker, and I think it's important that we do recognize them. We have lots of highlights. Some things are from last year, some things are from this year. I think one of the things that we try really hard to do at Knickerbocker is to involve our families in any way possible. They are so important. They work tirelessly with us and our students. So if there's ever times that we can invite them in, we do try to do that. Our PTO has a big fundraiser that they usually fundraise about $15,000. So that's their biggest thing of the year, and that allows them to buy the school supplies for our students here at Knickerbocker. So that's never a cost to our families because our PTO does purchase that for them. So we do the fun run, our families come, our PTO, and also local donors. We get shirts for our students and then we mark them on their laps on the back. We participate in Spirit Weeks. So we had a retired Major Sergeant Daryl Demota come in for Veterans Day. And you'll notice some of our staff at Knickerbocker are also veterans. So it was fun to honor them as well. We've had movie nights. Our last one, we saw 100+ students that came. Our Halloween parade where families line up outside of the front sidewalk at Knickerbocker. We've had the Watertown Fire Department come in for Fire Prevention Week. So that was a fun way to involve our community agencies. In our library, they do flashlight reading where Miss Robert will dim the lights and they read with flashlights and the kids can go anywhere they want in the library. And that's always exciting. We do a lot with STEM. Miss Robert and Mrs. Williams, who's a library assistant, are very big into the STEM at Watertown. So I think that pairs nicely that they work so closely with Lisa Blank and Tara Elmer. And so they know how to use lots of things. So they're always bringing different STEM things to Knickerbocker because of trainings that they've gone to. So our youngest learners are exposed to something like the Codapillar, and they learn how to code and they put pieces of the caterpillar together. And each section represents turning right or turning left, going forwards, going backwards. They're doing things with rockets and NASA in 4th grade. They're using the 3D printer and they researched an animal and they create these dioramas. And so then they print the animal, and they paint the animal using the 3D printer. What else? Lots of things we do. The PTO does an ice cream social. We paired with all of the other elementary buildings in the district, and we had Optimus Prime that came and visited. And yeah. So those are some of the highlights of Knickerbocker. Lots of fun and exciting things. Our families are invited to our monthly PBIS assemblies. I think it's a nice way when we honor our students for Student of the Month that our families can be here if they can. So we do have a nice turnout of families that come once a month to that as well. We have some great after-school opportunities. We have our 4-H SAC. It's SAC in the morning, and we have 17 participants. And then we have 38 students that participate in 4-H in the afternoon. Our tutoring numbers are small. We have 6 students and they are focused on one specific grade level where I felt was the biggest need of support with skills. So we do have a small number. We reached out to more families, but that's where we are now. Good News Club had 25 participants in the fall session where they started with one classroom and they ended up having to split into 2 classrooms because of how many students continue to sign up for that program. We have band club that Mrs. Robert and Mrs. Weston will be getting up and presenting on. They do it for, I'm not going to steal their thunder, so I'm going to let them talk about band club, but we do have a scrub club that we are in the works of piloting with Tara Elmer, Lynn Rigabar, our school nurse, and Kelsey Gonseth, one of our 2nd grade teachers. And this will be for our 2nd grade students. And it will be a 10-week long program once a week for 2nd graders, and they will be exposed to different medical careers, something different every week. And they're going to try to do 2 sessions. So hopefully hitting, targeting 20 students. Again, we are in the works with this, but this is really exciting. Anytime we can offer after school opportunities and allow our students to see what else is out there is just, it's good for them. It's good for them for exposure. At this time, I am going to welcome Vale Robert and Aaron Weston up to the mic. Talk about band club.
So I am Valerie Roberts, and as most of you here in the room know me, I have been at Knickerbocker for quite some time. And now I'm in the library and work at Starbucks and Knickerbocker doing that, as well as this very cool programming that we have.
And I'm Erin Weston. I'm the speech therapist at Knickerbocker, and I've been here, it'll be 25 years next fall. So, and this is just a really neat thing I like to do. It's a little different from my job, but I can take parts of my job and add it into that.
So first off, our first slide says, what is fan club? So we wanted to come up with a name to refer to our club, but we also knew that it had to be catchy to increase the appeal of it. So it stands for Fun Activities Now. So children that come, they're coming to fan club twice a week. We are currently doing it as we started last spring, and we have done it for 3rd and 4th graders. We chose those grade levels, because we felt that they had the independence that we needed for the activities that we were going to be doing. We have had 3 sessions so far, 2 last spring, 1 in the fall. We'll be starting another one very soon. We meet twice a week for 7 weeks, and then we start with a whole new group. It's just an hour twice a week. So our funding is primarily through the DODEA grants, and they've gotten most of our materials that we need is possible because of that grant funding. We've also borrowed items from the Watertown STEM office, as well as Jeff Lewis BOCES. And finally, we felt that it was really important that it be student driven. Our programming has been developed entirely through student voice. It was extremely important to us that the entire program was student centered, with a multitude of opportunities for them to have a choice. So our why. When I first heard about the opportunity to do after school club programming, I immediately thought of the people that I work with that share my same passion for supporting student success. So Erin Weston and Katie Kimball and I talked about areas that our student body could benefit from having some extra support in a fun group setting. So with Katie leaving, Erica Jones came on and she joined us and fit just like a puzzle piece into the group that we had this fall. We also felt very strongly that our club membership was not tied to any kind of school behavior nor attendance. What we were providing and what we do provide is not a privilege to be earned, but in some cases an incentive to help improve experiences and feelings about school with our students. So these are the cornerstones of our multifaceted club purpose. So first off, positive school experiences. We want children to have fun at school, and we thought that an hour twice a week while learning and growing and having fun would help them have positive experiences. We also know that relationships are very important to student success, and students need to feel included and valued, just like all of we do, to feel successful and to want to be part of something. So this is our student-student relationships and student-staff relationships. So we can get to know them on a better level and help them foster relationships between peers. So ultimately, improving attendance is a part of that positive school experience that we hope will happen. We have not tracked that data specifically. However, one teacher did comment to us that he's coming every Monday and Wednesday now. So at least that student was getting a positive experience that wanted to be there. Social emotional learning. We use opportunities at our club to practice turn taking, collaborating, sharing, winning and losing, patience and perseverance, and peer conversations with adult support, which are all really integral parts of them being successful. Problem solving. Students, we saw a need that they felt easily frustrated and have really difficult time with failed attempts, which is essential for their learning and growing. So we have chosen projects and games that we offered to them to choose from that will help them have supported practice in those areas, failing and trying again. Fine motor skills. Our students have a hard time with their printing and handwriting practice and holding pencil grips and things. And we felt that having more practice with fine motor skills would help them. So many of our activities engage those skills, which improve their dexterity and hand strength. And finally, as Mrs. Beebe mentioned, STEM is one of my passions. STEM is fun. And exposure to STEM opportunities will open career pathways for students and foster a problem-solving mindset. So we, of course, are including some STEM in our program. We have makerspace, breakerspace, and some simple robotics. We didn't get deep with robotics because one of our goals was to limit technology time. So we wanted more of the hands-on problem solving in the room without all of the technology that they probably already have quite a bit of. So our challenges. Choosing students was not a challenge. Our club facilitators have interaction at all grade levels and in all classrooms. We have the advantage of knowing the entire student body at Knickerbocker. We also change students each session so that we can maximize the number of students who can be involved and take advantage of this offering that we're doing. And we also got recommendations from classroom teachers, the principal, and we actually had a parent or two inquiry. And when a parent contacted us and said their child came home talking about this club thing and they want to know how to get them signed up, we felt that that was a really good sign that we had a successful club going on. So our true challenges were busy families. Many of the children we asked already had other things going on, parents working, they were involved in other activities or sports or things, so they weren't able to come. But the true biggest challenge was the transportation issue. Children that we really felt would benefit from the program were unable to come because they didn't have transportation to come home. Their families could not come and pick them up after the programming was over with. So that's our challenge. And all of everything I've been talking about, Weston is going to clarify.
No. Okay, I'm going to kind of walk you through our process. So on the side here, you'll see all of the things that we did offer to our students. And along with the students, we also learned some things like I didn't know how to crochet. I actually made a crocheted worm. I was very proud of myself. But Lego table, like the robotics, the breakerspace, jewelry making, looms, fitness dance, journal. They love their journals. They love to decorate their journals. So the first day when we come in, we put graffiti posters around the room and we connect those to our school creed at Knickerbocker. So we have a respectful, responsible, and a safe, and the kids take turns going around and writing what they think being respectful would look like in our club, what they think responsible looks like, what they think safe looks like. And then we also have a wish poster where they get to go and write whatever they would like to try during club. So it really is a lot of their ideas. And we just thought, again, it's very important that they set the expectations. They have ownership to this club. So our day or our hour starts with a school provided snack, and they're all sitting together. And we have a poster that goes up that tells what our activities are going to be for the day. So we go over that while they're eating. The students are responsible for cleaning up their snacks. Then we try to offer an arts and crafts activity, a STEAM activity, and games that target all those different skills that Val talked about earlier. Reading, drawing, coloring, Lego table, and unfinished products are always offered every time they're there. We have some students that they will make so many friendship pins, you have no idea, that's what they want to do. So they're always welcome to do that. Once it's taught, they can do it again. Our activities are chosen and geared toward improving social emotional learning, problem solving, fine motor, and STEAM. At the end of our session, the students participate in cleaning up the activity areas, and then the parents then pick them up in the parking lot with our supervision. So again, you can kind of see, I have to point out, are you going to point that out? So one day we did Lego challenges instead of just the Lego table. We wanted to make it a little more difficult. And one of the cards said, make this with a blindfold. Well, we don't have blindfolds. So we decided putting their hoodies on backwards was a good idea. They wore their hoodies over their face and created their Legos. And then after that, they were so happy with what they had made, they actually put together their own Lego gallery or Lego museum and labeled them. And that was a really neat thing. And they loved paper airplanes. I never thought that would be the biggest thing that it was, but
We put so much math.
yes. Yes, we did.
What do you? Breakers.
Oh,
So
yes.
one of the other things we wanted to mention is our breaker space area where nothing is actually ever broken. However, it is taken apart. So it could be called a disassembly space, but it's much more fun to say breaker space.
Breaker sounds like maker.
So we get equipment from the IT department that has been retired that's no longer useful, as well as donations from other people. And our students use tools. They ask for tools by the proper name, needle nose pliers, what are they?
Phillips head.
Yes.
Flathead.
So we, they have hex keys, they have all the tools they need, and they have to ask for them by their proper name. And they take things apart. So here, you'll see a couple of them up there, but they have to wear their safety goggles, and all of their pieces and parts they take apart are put into a tray so that it's not, it's all very organized and they can see what's on the inside of all these different pieces of technology. No, that's fine.
And we did last year, we did a exit survey. We wanted to see how the students really felt about things because sometimes they don't know how to tell you. So we did a 5-star rating, and then we did 2 questions. What did you like about fan club and what would you change about fan club? Our overall rating was a 4.75 out of 5. And the questions for that were, how much fun did you have at fan club? That was a 4.52. I learned new things in fan club. That was a little lower. I don't think they understood the question. We changed it the second time around. I would recommend fan club to a friend. That was 4.68. I would attend fan club again, 4.75. And some of the comments they made, explain what you loved about fan club. It is one of the most fun things ever that has happened to me. I would recommend playing with people and new friends. I loved that we got to hang out with friends and learn new things. And it is amazing. I recommend all my friends to come here. I think so. I really recommend to all my friends to come, and I cannot wait if I have the opportunity to go to another fan club or something like this. I'm so excited. And then there were some, what would they change about fan club? They really want to use the gym. They want to play outside. A lot of those, by the end of the day, they're ready to roll. So we do have some, I don't know what you call
It's
it.
a spinning top, like a reverse cone kind of top that they can spin and use the cord.
And we have like a balancing board and things like that. So we have enough room in the library. They can do those things. They did use the gym a few times. That was their biggest thing. But some said, I wish to keep going in fan club. What would you change? Nothing. What I would change in fan club would be that we would have fan club on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. So again, we take that as a positive there. So we're really looking forward to starting with our next group, which will be a 3rd grade group. And so, yeah, so thank you. If you have any questions.
Yeah, I do. So this is an after-school program, correct?
Correct.
So how many children are you actually capturing here? Like Ashley said you have 369 kids, and there's about 70 of them. Well, probably between third and fourth grade, there's about 140 kids or so. So how many of those 140 are you actually capturing in this program?
So last year we did last year we did 2 sessions and we tried to get at least 30 kids in each session. But we would always have 30 children on our rosters. And this year we're going to find 3 sessions, so.
So there is interest.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I had a student after she just finished it and she came back from Christmas break and she came up to me at dismissal and she's like, there's no club? I'm like, honey, it's over. And she was like, oh, they want to come back. So that's really neat too. And they tell their friends about it.
And have there been any conversations as to how what you've done here can be transitioned once they go to Wiley? Are they doing anything like that at
Do their
Wiley?
own, right? The schools kind of
Yeah,
have their own thing.
yes. Okay, that's good. That's good. Very good.
We're looking at our fellow staff.
Okay, excellent. That's great.
Yeah.
We were thinking that another piece of data that we might add as well is maybe a parent survey. We could get parents' input on what the student set was saying at home.
Any ideas on how you can resolve the issue and the challenge of transportation?
Well, a big idea would be if we had busing, like some other after-school programming, yes, that would be the best.
And that would,
The best case scenario.
that would have to be funded by the district?
Or grant funded.
Excuse me?
I don't know the answer to that.
Okay.
Not the.
Okay, but
I would
others,
assume so.
okay,
I don't know.
okay.
I know in some cases, parents have carpooled so that their kids could come if they live near each other. Thank you very much.
Val, what time is this after, right, immediately after school?
3:17 to 4:17.
So it's been a great asset to have Erica working with us, who is at the high school level, because she comes down and monitors snack time before the club actually.
Oh,
Then you can start working.
Yes.
I like this, that they're doing things that are imagination. I feel like there's a lot of times kids are doing too many electronics, and that's probably why they love the airplanes, because nobody does airplanes or boondoggle or crochet.
Right.
So I really like it.
It was amazing, the children that wanted to learn how to crochet, that are
People you would never guess.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
Just, that's a great program. Thanks
It
for
is.
sharing.
Thank you.
glad we could do it.
So there are lots of different things. Kara, Julie Williams and I made those shirts. A lot of our different classes, they make shirts when they go on field trips. So the students design the shirts and then they have a screen printer here. And they go through the process of actually screen printing their shirt that they wear on field trips that has like their teacher's name. So I think that there's a lot of really unique things that we're doing at Knickerbocker that are hands-on, which students learn best that way. So I am a big proponent, I've said it before, of community service. How can we give back to our community? I feel that our community selflessly gives to us all the time. They show up at events, they donate money to our fun runs or our Valentine grams. And so I'm always, how can we give back to them? So some of the, and our teachers at Knickerbocker, when I have these ideas, I feel like they are always like, oh, we can try this. Oh, we can do this. So I think that they're very on board with doing community service. So some of the things that we've done, I know we did partner with all the elementary schools in the district when we had that big no water, and we made cards, and Mrs. Blair and I delivered them to the state office building, and that was on behalf of the district. So there's an example of community service. At Thanksgiving, we had gotten white plain placemats, and our students decorated them with all these pictures and sayings, and we delivered them to Samaritan Keep Home. That way they had them for Thanksgiving time. Our faculty and staff I could say a million amazing things about the faculty and staff at Knickerbocker. They are remarkable, truly, truly remarkable people. I feel so lucky that I get to work with them every single day. For Christmas this year, we did have an angel tree that Miss Navarra and Mrs. Pawlowski organized. And I think ended up being 16 students that we were able to put names on an angel tree, and it said what items they wanted or needed. And our faculty just showed up and purchased all these amazing gifts, and we were able to celebrate and deliver those to our families and met them. So that was a nice little unique thing that we did for community service. And I know that there's more community service things to come, but that is something that is very, very important to me. And I think that my staff has gotten on board very easily with that request as well. I also feel that it's very important to foster a positive school climate. So that creates a sense of belonging, a sense of excitement, fun. I'm very competitive, and I have some very competitive staff members. So when we did the trek to the North Pole, I spent hours one night at my house on Canva, which I love. I created this in Canva, but Mike had me put it in PowerPoint. I created this and this trek to the North Pole. I know that we put our turkey and we said do a lake, but I copied it for every single kid in my building, and I sent it home with the students, and these would come in, and Mrs. Morrow, one of my fourth grade teachers, would upload the data into the Google form. I had parents for the families about the trek to the North Pole to not forget to add their data. Just, it was something fun. I'm competitive, and I think that this was another way to engage them, make them feel part of it. And I made sure to thank them after that trophy came home to us. That's exciting. We have golden tickets, and I read those in the morning. Some of our community members are here, and he gets to hear them in the morning, but we on our students are being and safe. So we read those when students level up in our art reading series, and I'll talk a little bit about that. I do read those on the morning announcements. Last year, it was early when I came to Knickerbocker. It was still early when Dr. Schmiegel was here, and it was May 5th, I think, but it was the Kentucky Derby Day, and I was up at the district office, and I had this fancy hat on. I remember running into Dr. Schmiegel and Tina, and he said, I don't know if I can take you seriously. We've done Secret Santa. Our staff gets together and they have jewelry, or they create shirts for holidays. I did an Easter egg hunt with them last year in the courtyard. We did a Real Kids Wear Pink Day where we earned some money, and it went to a local charity, or Pink Out. What else? We invited our families to school assemblies. We had a holiday sing-along. Eddie Cito came to our early December PBIS assembly because his daughter was getting an award, and he sang. So that was exciting. The students loved that. And we did a Winter Wonderland themed hallway contest. Again, I'm very competitive. And we used a 3D printer, and we made these cute trophies, and our K1 hallway won. But that was, again, just building that culture, that climate for the staff and for our students, I think is very, very important. We want them to come here every day and be excited. And I think that's what we're doing a great job at Knickerbocker. So those are some things that we've done with the school climate. Now getting into the data piece, and as competitive as I am, I do actually love data as well. So Panorama, I thought it would be important to break down our attendance and behavior. This was from last week. It changed slightly in the attendance bracket today, very still close to that. But 46% of our students are on track for college and career readiness. 27% are on track for graduation. We have 20% that are at risk with their attendance, and we have 6% that are really critical. So they've been here less than 80% of days. When we look at our behavior at Knickerbocker, and I describe Knickerbocker as a very busy building. 88% of our students have had 0 discipline instances. They're being respectful, responsible, and safe all the time, every single day. They're rock stars. We have 6%, again, a fairly small percentage that it's only 1 to 2% of school days, so not a lot. We have 5% that are at risk, so 3 to 5% of days, and I have broken down by student number, that's about 19 total students. And then critical, we have 1% that have had more than 5% of school days, and that number is about 4 students specifically. So that is our attendance and behavior. So ARC is our reading series that we use at Watertown City School District. And I wanted to show you about curriculum. I like curriculum. And I wanted you to see the different reading levels that ARC has. Each grade level has different expectations. And we hope students will reach the expectation by the end of the school year. So we're going to start with kindergarten. And we have Roxy. Roxanne is in kindergarten in Miss Lindemeyer's class. She is at a 1G currently, and she's going to read for us. And her goal for the end of kindergarten is a 2G. So it goes from, and you'll see on this booklet, kindergartners, typically they go through a couple different transitions throughout the school year. We have a 1Y, a 2Y, a 3Y, and then a 1G and a 2G. This is where we want them by the end of the year. So here's Roxy reading to us.
Hi, my name is Roxy. I'm in kindergarten, and I'm gonna read with you. Come with me. Come here, cat. Come here with me. Come here, cat. Look, you can have this. Cat, look, do you see this? Do you want this? Come on, cat. Do you want to come with us?
You'll see the progression as we go through each grade level. But Roxy did a great job. I think at the beginning, I loved how she invites us to come read with her. I think that's pretty neat as a kindergarten. She wants you to come read with us. So as we move into first grade, we have Kennedy. And in first grade, when they come in, we want them to be at a 1B and end at a 2B. So Kennedy is already at 2B. She's where we want her to be at the end of first grade, which is really exciting. So again, her goal is a 2B. That's where she is. But here's Miss Kennedy.
My name is Kennedy, and I'm gonna be reading Slam Bam Sam. Here I am, Slam Bam Sam. The chip, this here, is here. I am going to sit this down out. What don't you want to see me slam the ball? I'm the champ. I have a cramp. They want me. They call on me. Come on, you have to see me hit.
And as you'll see, as we continue going through, our students' fluency gets better. The easiness of their reading is greater. Moving to second grade, we have Rowan. Rowan is at a 2R. When they start second grade, we want them to be at a 1R and end at a 2R. So Rowan is where he needs to be for second grade.
Hi, my name is Rowan, and I'm in second grade, and I'm gonna read The Kitten Who Cried Dog. Once upon a time, there was a village full of cats. The villagers had a fine collection of toys, but they were worried about a naughty dog who lived nearby. The naughty dog wanted to steal their toys. The villagers decided it would be one kitten's job to guard the toys, keep a close eye on the toys. They told him, if dog comes to steal them, cry out dog as loudly as you can. At first, the kitten felt very important, but after a while he began to feel bored. His job was not much.
When we get into third grade, we have Sylvia. In third grade, they come in and they exit and we want them to be at the white level. So Sylvia is going to read to us from the white level in the ARC reading series. And you'll notice that this is, all the books have a sticker on them. It's a distinction of where they are. And they know easily, they have that visual to easily pull the book and know that this is where I am right now. And their teachers have discussions with them about what bins they should be choosing books from.
Hi, my name is Sylvia, and I'm going to read King Midas and the Golden Touch. Many years ago, there lived a king named Midas. King Midas had a great deal of wealth, but not a lot of wisdom. He has more gold than he could spend in a lifetime. Still, he spent his life wishing for more. The king has a little daughter whose name was Marigold. His daughter was a pride and joy. She was as sweet as honey and as gentle as a kitten. There was only one thing he loved more than his daughter, gold.
And then finally, our fourth graders, we want them to come in and stay in the black level the whole entire year. So Sophia's been great to us in the black level.
I'm Sophia, and I'm going to read a couple pages from Dog Heroes. Dogs are everywhere. They're in parks, on the sidewalks, they're riding cars, and snoozing in the sun. Dogs are the most popular pet on the planet. In fact, they're the first animals that people ever tamed. Scientists have found human and dog fossils buried together in Iran, Iraq, and Israel. The fossils tell us that as long as 14,000 years ago, people and dogs lived together.
And what's neat about ARC is that K1 and 2, there's different targets that we want them to hit throughout the year. Where 3 and 4, third grade, we want them in white the whole year. Fourth grade, we want them in black the whole year. So that is a difference between the upper 2 grade levels versus K2, where they have different targets for the year that we want them to be successful in. So this is Knickerbocker's current ARC reading levels as of last Friday. I think it was the 12th. And you can see we have emergency, at-risk, and proficient. Emergency, that quantifies students that are 2 or more grade levels below where they should be in reading. And these students are actually conferenced with their teachers 3 to 4 times, and they say 14-day, but it's a 10-day because it's 2 weeks, so 10 days of school. So their teachers are meeting with them one-on-one, and they're working on something specific with the students that are emergencies. Our at-risk readers are 1 grade level below, and our teachers are conferencing with them 2 to 3 times in a 10-day cycle. And our proficient readers are at or they're exceeding grade level expectations. And in this specific category, our teachers are conferencing with them once in a 10-day cycle. So. And then we have our iReady. iReady is our diagnostic that we have students take in September. Right now, they're taking it in the middle. Right now, they're January, they're winter ones, and then in the fall. And this helps us form our intervention groups. So here's Knickerbocker's fall results because we're not yet done with our winter ones. Those will be done sometime next week. But our fall results of Knickerbocker versus our fall results of the district as a whole. And this is just looking at grades 1 through 4. Kindergarten doesn't take the iReady diagnostic in the fall. They do a practice one in October, but it's not to go into receive intervention at that time. And they'll do that right now in January, they're taking that. So you'll see where students are, where the line is, that's students that are at the middle or they're above their current grade level. The green is they're early on in their grade level. So a fourth grader early on, September, October data. Here's our students that are one grade level below, 2 grade levels below, and then 3 or more grade levels below. And here's our math data. Again, this is our fall data because we have not yet finished our winter data. Our intervention has changed this year. And intervention I think it's such a unique change that we're doing as a district. And it's unique in the sense that it's one-on-one quick hits for 10 minutes. So students in iReady that are in 10% or less, that's what they scored in iReady, they're going to receive intervention. And here it is again broken down by grade level, excluding kindergarten because kindergarten didn't take the iReady diagnostic in the fall. We will include kindergarten once iReady testing is done at the end of next week and the interventionists meet. But what's really unique is that iReady tells you the exact skills that our students are deficit in, where they need more support. So if I'm an interventionist, I can go into iReady, I can see exactly that Ashley needs more phonics practice, and I can gear my lesson towards phonics. Or I can print a lesson from iReady that has a phonics lesson already created. And I'm gonna meet with that student one-on-one every single day for 10 minutes. And what our interventionists are finding is they're seeing our students' skills growing. Is it a big, huge leap growing? No, but they are growing, and that's what matters. That's what we want to happen. Again, it's students that are 10% or lower on their iReady diagnostic. And our interventionists push into classrooms where last year they were pulling out groups of students into a classroom. Now they're pushing into rooms, they're sitting down at a table, or they're sitting in the hall, or they're coming to the cafeteria, and they have their carts with all of their materials and resources on it. And they just get the things that they need. They meet with that student, they do their 10-minute quick hit, and then they move to the next one. And our teachers have intervention blocks. So 40 minutes a day that are set aside for intervention. And then there could be some overflow time during another part of the teacher's day if the students need that. And our lowest intervention numbers were for math, at least with our grade 3, but that's also our smallest grade as well.
Hi, my name is Andrew. My favorite part of Knickerbocker is the gym.
Hi, my name is Miss Alexis. My favorite part about Knickerbocker is that we are like one big family.
Miss Alexis does work with one of our students, and it's pretty unique. Last year at our first grade concert, the first graders all signed. So they signed the concert. She works really hard with not just her student, but the students of Knickerbocker, which I think is wonderful.
Hi, my name is Bryson, and my favorite part of Knickerbocker is having fun.
We have some more exciting things to come. We have family bingo night that was scheduled for last week that will be tomorrow night. We have the Bear Fair. Tons of families come out to the Bear Fair in June, and that's right in our parking lot. We have carnival style games. It's free to our families. Our PTO puts that on. We have our health and wellness family fun run. The PTO fun run, the STEAM fair, family fitness night, where we're partnering with the YMCA, field trips, concerts, more assemblies. So lots of exciting things at Knickerbocker, and that concludes my presentation. Are there any questions? Thank you for your time. At this, I would like to welcome Ryan to come on up. He's going to talk to us about the district logo.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ryan DeTolmi, and I'm a local graphic designer, and I'm here to present the new Watertown City School District logo. So a little bit about myself. I am like I said, a local graphic designer. I moved to the area after accepting a job at Car Freshener. where I designed for that, but I also received my BFA from Casanova College back in 2019. So I've been here for about 5 years now. And I also on the side do some freelancing, and that is my company, Ryan D. Designs. A little bit of my portfolio work at Car Freshener. These are some of the little trees that I've designed, and this is what I do during the day. And then in the evenings, I work on my personal business as well. So the reason I come here today to talk to you about this new logo for Watertown is back last year, I am also an educator at Wiley. And I worked on a simple logo that Wiley requested for the individual building last year. In doing so, I did a little research, as I typically do with my projects, to get a little background of what other people are doing when doing project brief. And in doing that research, I discovered that our current Cyclone logo is not necessarily ownable by us. So this is the logo we're all very familiar with. But as I said, in doing that research, I discovered that this logo across the country is used for different sports teams, districts, and communities that also do sports. So with that, I reached out to Dr. Schmiegel as I knew the turf project was coming up, and I wanted it to be aware that this logo might possibly not be ownable. And in doing so, there wasn't any copyright information or licensing that we found, which prompted a project to create a unique logo for Watertown City School District. So with that being said, the design objective was to create a new visual identity for Watertown City School District that reflects unity, strength, and school spirit. My goal was to be sure to create a mascot logo for the turf that personifies the existing mascot and incorporates gold as the district's third core color. And with that, I give you our updated logo. So you'll see there are many attributes that are seen in the mascot previously, such as the bold eyebrows, the fierce intense stare, the triangle nose, the little buck teeth, all the way down to the beefy gold arms. And then little hidden innuendos that are in there, the 3 white lines in the hood of the cyclone is represent a W for Watertown. And just a really nice bold graphic style that has that strong unified approach. With that, we also wanted a logo that works well for athletics, such as the turf, but also a logo that encompasses all of the district as well that wasn't a mascot. Oh, I apologize. That is a rough mock of what our turf will look like. But with that, using the same cyclone, I have simply removed the face, given a nice solid look, bold modern typography with a nice addition of the school motto. In completing this project as well, I had to create a brand style guide that reflects all the rules to make sure that Watertown is using the brand as a cohesive visual identity. So throughout here, there's the typography that should be used along with secondary typography, the core colors that should be used in all color spaces, all the way down to the logos and all their iterations, and the misuses of logos, what shouldn't be done. That way we're using the logos appropriately and not creating any confusion or non-cohesive imagery for the brand. Additionally, we have updated the stationery as well. So that means new business cards, new letterheads, and again, bringing in those core colors and the bold graphic style that is very representative of what Watertown truly is. So thank you for your time. I'll take any questions if there are any.
Mr. Rep, oh, go
I do
ahead.
have a question. So now that we do have, we copyrighted this, correct? Or
So since I've created this for you, it is your intellectual property.
so that being said, is it, a lot of people make their own sweatshirts, things like that. Should they use this logo if they're going to be doing that?
Yes, unless they want to create their own, there's nothing against creating their own, but if you want to create a unique logo that is representative and matches the rest of the Watertown City School District brand, then it would be a to use it.
Would this be something that someone could ask us to use to make something, or how are we gonna?
Yep, absolutely. So you can take that. It would just be advised not to alter the logo. Just use it as this.
Okay, thank you, Ryan. You did a great job.
Thank you.
I just want to say, Ryan, when we were looking at the turf, I was slightly nervous when I found out that it was not, that we did not own the copyright. 1.4 million is a lot to spend on a turf. We wanted it to look beautiful, but we also wanted to own the logo that was on it. You and your company, you know, the volunteering to put this together for us in the many hours and back and forth emails. I know Michelle and I went down to the
pep rally at the high school, took pictures, sent them back to you, and you were always extremely responsive. And I just want to thank you for your effort to the district and your presentation to the board tonight.
Of course, thank you very much. I appreciate your time. Awesome.
Okay, moving along with. Oh,
I just thought of something.
yeah, sure.
You actually went pretty quick. Did you mention email signature? Should that be incorporated as well?
Yes, without being meant.
Okay, perfect.
Perfect, good thing.
So the next agenda item C is being tabled. We want to gather some more data before we do a formal presentation on our AIS service.
Ready to do it? Okay, good. Okay, good. Good, good. Then, Mrs. Lori Converse, I'll turn it over to you for the policy committee meeting report.
Right. I don't have a lot today. We did have two suggested policies that were sent from Madison Oneida BOCES. The first one is a meal modification policy. We are confirming with legal if it is required. We currently don't have a food service policy. And there's nothing that, we also called Mary, and we don't have a procedure that you can look at online as well. So we're just gonna be looking into all of this to see. As you know, we're trying to get rid of policies, not add more of them and add more things that we don't necessarily need. So there'll be more to come on that one. The other one is one that is required federally. It is a uniform grant guidance policy, and we're gonna send this to Lauren Payne Borsey. She's our grant writer and manager of grants. So have her look this over for us and make some notes before we go back and present this to you, and then we'll look at it over, present it to you for you guys to look at for any suggestions, and then move forward with what we're gonna do. So you do have to have this if you want to get any federal awards at all moving forward. So it's something that we do need to have. And I don't remember why, did it say a date?
The main
Tina?
thing behind that is the Buy America, making sure that we're spending our money and
In America as well, yes.
so.
Making sure that what? We're spending our
Spending
America.
our money in America.
Federal grant programs want you to make sure that you're looking at domestic suppliers rather than overseas as a priority. So it wouldn't apply in every situation, but it has to apply in as many situations as you can make it. So,
Excellent explanation.
that's why I teach government.
Yeah, it says it basically says it's mandatory to have a domestic preference, meaning that it has to be US, made in America.
If possible.
And that's all we have.
Very good. Dr. Larry Schmiegel with the superintendent of schools report.
Good evening, everyone. A list of things here. First of all, I want to thank our new mayor who invited us last week over to her office to discuss the eclipse. So on April 8th, as you know, Watertown is going to be in the path of totality. We have our very own Lisa Blank working on some instructional materials for our students and our teachers to use. And also ordering glasses so that our students have the protective eyewear and staff that they need to be safe on that day. A part of those meetings, there's 2 meetings taking place a month. Tina Lane, Lisa Blank, and myself are taking those meetings. We will, on April 8th, I will be bringing a resolution to the board to do an early release that day. The city is concerned with the possibility of 10,000 vehicles entering the city to be in path of totality, to have buses on the roads, teenage drivers on the road, staff, et cetera. So to reduce that traffic pattern, we will reduce to a half day. There was some question on whether or not the district could close that day. We are legally obligated to be in school 180 days unless we have a declaration to declare an emergency, which the state has not issued for the eclipse, and or if we use one of the weather-related days. As of currently, last week, we used 2 weather-related days for wind with the lack of electricity. And we have currently used 1.5 days for the water main issue. And so the day and a half for the water main, we are seeking from the state to declare that emergency. The city did give us, from the former mayor, a declaration. We did have legal look at that. And right now you wait until the end of the school year to apply for that. So we do not know if that day and a half is going to be credited back to us. If not, that day and a half will have to come out of the 6 days that we build in for contingency. And so with that being said, the safest way we could go with the eclipse to declare that a school day would be an early release. So I will be bringing a resolution to the next board meeting for the board to vote on an early release because it is a change of calendar. And that's why I'll be bringing that to the board. The next thing I'm going to mention is the Student Advisory Council. Today was another meeting. We meet once a month before the board meetings. Our students are doing a terrific job in the Student Advisory Council. They gave us significant input in our strategic plan. Today, they had the opportunity to hear our draft strategic plan, to look at the action steps. And the conversation that came out of that was absolutely amazing. They said, how do we take this and bring it to life? How do we present it to students? Can you present 4 times a year to us so that the kids know what you're doing? They said, we hear all the amazing things that are happening in the district in this committee, but how do we bring that back so that all students hear the amazing things that we're doing? And so I'm going to make them unpack that a little bit more and come up with a way that we can do that in a student-friendly language. But we did that. They also wanted to know about school closures and why the one day I delayed late, why I closed the one day, why we don't close. So they asked some great questions, and when I thought they were done, they posed some more questions about school closures. And so they wanted to know the process. There was a press release that went out last week to kind of describe some of the thought process that goes behind making those decisions that all relate to safety. And so again, some great questions. They're asking to meet with Lynn at the next meeting so that they can hear some of the in the strategic plan, it talks about meeting with the scheduling committee. They said, well, we want to hear what the recommendations are and how they're going to impact us as students. So Lynn has agreed to present to them so that they can hear the middle school and the high school scheduling. And it'll be interesting to hear if their recommendations align with what our adults are asking for. So we'll present that. And we really want them to have a common understanding of how the operations of the district work. Tina's been to several meetings. So hasn't Lynn. We're going to invite food service, technology, transportation, Sally, so that they can hear how does the budget process work. We talked about budgeting today, and I'll mention that momentarily. They wanted to know how money is spent. And so we spoke about that today. We actually ran out of time. I looked at the clock. We had 4 minutes left. I looked, I'm like, okay, it's 1:05. Michelle's going to be upset because now they're late for their bus. But they would also like a tour of Wiley to see the $13 million project that went into Wiley case in the high school. So we're going to do a tour of Wiley so they can see some of the behind the things there. The next thing I wanted to mention is today I was invited based on some of our board members previously read at Sherman Elementary School. And I took Terry up on that opportunity. So 5 teachers allowed me to read in their classrooms today. And it was amazing the amount of kids. I won't tell you the health violations from some of our kindergartners, but the shaking hands is a little dangerous this time of year. But in any event, the amazing, the smiles, the giggles, and the fact that each of them engaged in literacy with me today was extremely powerful. We had amazing vocab lessons today. We got to talk about perseverance and other things to inspire them. So I'm looking at Ashley because she has to invite me next. But that was fun today. The next thing I want to mention that our community has already heard because when we add an SSO position to our district, we have to have a public hearing. And so the board went through that process already. Our community went through that process already. In that, we put in there through the resolution then that the name will be determined. We have that name, so that name is coming forward today and that candidate's here. So we're excited about that. Just for our community's awareness, that's going to come in the form that we already presented, but there will be a specific individual's name on it. Instead of being determined, there will be a contract for that individual, but also the resolution to approve that position tonight that the board will be acting on. So just information there. The next thing, I had an amazing meeting with Officer Davis at the high school and Pete. They gave some amazing recommendations of what we can do to make our high school safer and some decisions that we're going to contemplate as an administrative team. So more information will be coming for that. On the capital project side, Sally and I sat in a meeting last week, and we're extremely excited to mention this to the school board tonight, but also to our community. The $13 million project that we undertook is about 72% completed. And with that being said, they're pretty concrete on the totals. And we believe with that project that we are going to be 1.38 million under budget.
Great.
And usually you hear we're going over budget with change orders and so forth. And so that is something that we're excited about. There's some stipulations to that. It is not a use or lose if we choose that we do not want to undertake some of the alternative projects, and I'm going to read just a couple of them to you. If we decide as a district that we do not want to do that, and these were all ones that were already approved in the original scope and sequence, they already went to the voters for approval, and they would attach themselves to Wiley case or to the high school that were included in that grant. Some of the things include Wiley Gymnasium, mechanical, Wiley exterior masonry, high school exterior masonry, Case Middle School exterior lighting, Case Middle School corridor lighting, Case Middle School interior lighting, high school auditorium house lighting, Wiley storage building access. And then we talked about what are some things that maybe were not mentioned verbatim, but can be included in the scope. Our school board took, I think it was a couple of meetings ago, we took a tour of Wiley and the new project downstairs for the music wings. And some things that we will also consider is the possibility of redoing the tiling and the painting in that main wing downstairs, so that when you walk in the basement of Wiley, you have that finished look of flooring and walls. So that's can also be included. So what I've asked Brian Arias to do is to take the alternative projects. Again, we have 1.38 million. What that means is probably about $1 million when you take out the associated costs. And we have to look at the bids. And so these bids, you know, from the moment you go out to the voters to ask for a capital project to be done, takes about 2 years before you can put a shovel in the ground. And so these alternative projects that I read to you are ones that were already approved by the Board of Education 2 years ago, but also the voters. Ideally, it would be easy if we chose one of these. They've already been submitted to the state. The state has already given their initial approval. The control numbers for these projects would remain the same. What we are not certain as of today, and we have a meeting scheduled for tomorrow, is whether or not the organizations that put bids in for these projects, if they're willing to maintain the bid that they put in 2 years ago. With inflation, the prices may have gone up. So we've got, and we'll take that into consideration. The other thing that I want to be just transparent, because that's something that's been an effort of the school board, is to just make sure that the community is aware that this is, if we don't use the $1.38 million to complete one of the alternative projects, then that does not mean that we're losing money. What that means as a district, that we are not borrowing $1.38 million. And I say that because, although if you heard the alternative projects, I don't think this is going to be the case, but because we're in the process of getting our building condition survey done currently, we wouldn't want to pay for a project and then tear that project apart in the condition survey. Oh, we're going to knock that wing down. We're going to add a new wing here. We're going to add a second floor. And then we have the appearance to the community that we're spending money foolishly. So with masonry, that is something that we need to do. We have some spalling. We need to address the spalling. Lighting could be a savings with switching to LED lighting. So there are some benefits to doing these projects. We will be meeting tomorrow to further discuss the order, and then we will bring that back to this board, the order of which we would like to use those funds. The next thing that I wanted to mention is the turf project. The turf has already been selected. I mentioned that a few board meetings ago. I think it was before the holiday break. The only thing we were waiting on to order the turf, it's already been submitted to the state, is the actual graphic. I wanted to wait until it was presented to the board and the community today. So now I will go ahead and we will order the turf with the graphic that was presented today. The next thing that I want to mention, and this is our strategic plan. So our goal was to have a strategic plan presented to the community and to the Board of Education by December. Obviously, that did not happen. We needed more time to listen to stakeholders, to gather input, to analyze that data, and to come up with a strategic plan that we felt was appropriate for where we are and the direction in which the district is going. The other thing is I asked the students as I was reading to Sherman today, because they were talking about how they're avid writers, and a couple of classes, teachers have said the kids have published 2 books already. And so I asked them, have you ever got a writer's block? And I said, I was working on a strategic plan and I had a writer's block. And the kids were like, yes. And I was like, so that happened to us as a team. And Tina's shaking her head, Sally and Lynn. So, and the struggle was, we have a 5-year strategic plan. And so to sit here in front of our school board and in front of the community and say, we know exactly where we're going to be at the end of this year, where we're going to be exactly at the end of next year, is a little bit presumptuous. And so we said, we finally had that come to realization, and the writer's block was over. And we said, you know what? We're going to come up with a 5-year plan, because our goal of increasing graduation rate, improving the non-attendance rate, improving behaviors of our students, and all of those things, we know that it's going to take us 3 to 5 years, because effective change doesn't happen overnight. It takes 3 to 5 years of consistent effort. We decided we're going to keep the 5 goals. We're going to keep them for 5 years, but annually as a committee, and we have some school board members that volunteered to be on that committee, every stakeholder group, and we had 7. So every stakeholder group is represented in a group of like 14 people. We're going to meet every year and look at the action steps that we outlaid. We're going to say, did we meet them? Did we not? Why or why not? And then we're going to identify for each of those 5 goals, action steps for the upcoming year. And so although the goals are going to remain consistent, the action steps will be worked on in June. They will be presented to the school board in July. They will be presented to our administrative leadership retreat in July. They will be presented to our staff in August, September, and then we will roll them out. And the kids today said, we want you to roll them out to us too. So we have to figure out how we're going to roll them out to the kids. We are going to have a 1-pager that'll be easier for people to kind of digest, because right now we're at 17 pages. But I thought it was important to have a roadmap that's clear and concise with the action steps, the who, what, when, and where. That was something that was lacking. So we're now moving in that direction. So with all of that said, we are not presenting it tonight. We were trying to, but we didn't want it to be rushed. We wanted it to be thoughtful. And then, to be honest, we need Lisa Blank to help us beautify it. So we're going to finish the action steps. We're going to reach out to our amazing technology person, our director of STEM. And then our hope is to present it to the board and the community at the first meeting in February, with the hope that the board votes on it the second meeting of February. So that is our goal. And I apologize for the delay, but I think we're finally coming up with something that'll be a framework. Our vision statement was lacking. We didn't have one. Our guiding principles were lacking. We now have one. And I read it to the kids today and they were like, that speaks to, they picked out all of the key words that we were hoping they would see in our new vision and our guiding principles. So hopefully the community and our school board feels the same way. The last thing that I have on my agenda is the emergency at North. And so our community is going to see today a resolution. So when an emergency happens in a school setting, we can go, and it's fiscally prudent and responsible for of us to do so, to go to the state and ask for an emergency. And when we ask for an emergency, what we're asking for is whatever money we spend to be reimbursed, and not to put that burden on the local share. And so we have already worked with our architect, King & King. They've already submitted the paperwork on our behalf to apply to the state of New York to declare what happened. If you're not aware, the wall caved in partially at North with some concrete damage, but also some glass damage. Our staff did an amazing job under Brian Arias to shore up that building to make it safe for students to return to. But tonight, what you're going to hear is the board taking action. We did have a board member reach out about completing a checklist. That is appropriate if we're looking at new construction. So we reached out to legal, and this is the first time I'm going through this process, so I appreciate all questions. They help educate us as a school district, but also the board, so that I'm advising the board correctly. And I'm going to read this statement. This is considered, what happened at North, a type 2 action under the SECRA regulations, since it is a repair and replacement and therefore does not require a SECRA review. We have provided the district a resolution that identifies it as such. So tonight, what you're going to see the board do is vote on whether or not they agree that the damage that happened at North is an emergency. If they approve that tonight, what that allows us to do is use our general fund to get that building fixed. Once that happens, we have 2 pots of money that we're going to be going to replace the funds that are used from the general funds. That is insurance. This has already been, Sally reported it to our insurance company. Brian did an amazing job taking pictures with his team. And in addition to that, we are going to apply to the state. If the state approves our emergency based on board action tonight, then that classifies it as an emergency and it allows us to aid that money. So over a 14-year period of time, depending on the cost, we get that money back. And so that is an important action that you're seeing us go through tonight. That concludes my comments for the superintendent's report.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, moving along, items for consent agenda.
Resolve that consent agenda items A, B, and C are hereby approved.
Can I have a motion, please?
Lori.
Lori and Millie. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Items for board action.
At a regular meeting of the Board of Education of the Watertown City School District held on October 17th, 2023. Whereas the Watertown City School District wishes to enter into an employment agreement with Matthew Flynn for the provision of school security services as a school safety officer. And whereas the Board of Education has reviewed a proposed employment agreement with Matthew Flynn for the provision of school security services as a school safety officer and has held a public hearing for the purpose of soliciting input from various stakeholders regarding this agreement as required by law, and whereas individuals are generally prohibited from possessing and carrying firearms on school district property, absent written authorization from the school district pursuant to New York Penal Law Section 265.01A, and whereas where Matthew Flynn's work, activities, and duties as school safety officer necessitate the possession and carrying of a firearm on school property. Now, therefore, be it resolved as follows. Number one, the Board of Education hereby approves the proposed school safety officer employment agreement and authorizes the superintendent of schools to take all necessary actions and to execute any necessary documents on behalf of the Board of Education. Number two, the Board of Education hereby authorizes Matthew Flynn to possess and carry a firearm on school district property while working in his capacity as a school safety officer. This authorization shall be in effect for the duration of Matthew Flynn's employment by the school district as a school safety officer. Number four, the Board of Education reserves the right to revoke this authorization at any time without cause. And number five, this resolution shall take effect immediately.
Mr. Flynn, if you'd like to stand. Can I have a motion, please?
John.
John and Cully, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Welcome.
Be it resolved that upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, Dr. Larry Schmiegel, the Board of Education hereby approves the following: resignations, retirement, leave of absence, appointments, term probationary instructional, appointment substitute administrator, appointments provisional, appointment probationary non-instructional, appointments permanent, appointment substitute instructional, appointments substitutes non-instructional, appointment winter coaching boys, appointment winter coach or spring coaching boys.
Can I have a motion, please?
Right.
Lori in a second.
Millie.
Millie, any discussion?
Yes, I have a couple of questions, just procedural questions. So I noticed that there's a couple of names here that are resigned and then they have another position. For those lateral transfers, what kind of? So like. Julie Keggins. Resigned as a special ed teacher and then she's mathematics probationer.
Yes, lateral, just a
So
different
it's a
kind of
lateral.
area.
Okay.
Yes.
And then there's another one there. So those are just lateral move. They just resigned from one place and are putting in, okay.
Yes. And the resignation.
So we're not, so what about those positions though? So we losing like a teacher's aide then, so that, does that open up? Okay,
And we filled both of those today.
Oh,
So.
okay, perfect.
You'll see, that's baked into this curriculum as well, so.
Okay.
One more, the coaching, is
Yes.
that a head coaching position?
The volunteer?
Yes.
No.
Anything else? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
The next one I want to mention, this has already been to our policy committee and Lori opened it up for board members to provide feedback. We had a public person speak up at one of our board meetings in the public comment section regarding this policy. We are required to have it. We spoke about why CPI is one of the intervention strategies that we use in the district. It is one that we're trained with. Our PPS teams throughout the district wanted to use consistent language. The give that we decided to use in this policy so that the language was consistent and understandable was we wanted to keep the safety interventions. That's the name of the interventions used in CPI. However, to clearly identify that, we did use a backslash and identify it as physical restraints as well. The other thing we did, the area in there about timeouts. If you look at the state's definition of timeouts, we actually brought this back to our administrators. And we asked them for their input on whether or not they felt that when a kid goes to their office to de-escalate and to gain self-control before they go back to a classroom, it could technically constitute a timeout. And so because of that, we are asking to leave that section in the policy. That's my only comment, sir.
Right. Resolved that the following revised Board of Education policy is hereby approved and adopted. 7068, limitations on the use of timeout and safety interventions, physical restraints.
Can I have a motion, please? Lori in a second.
John.
John, discuss.
Yes. Question. The emergency intervention form, when that needs to be tapped into, where is that information being input?
So by regulation, the principals keep those on file in their offices, so they're kept on file there.
So they're not entered in school tools?
No.
So this is not a report, this is not reportable to the state then?
The state is going to require this to be reported. They did
Okay,
need that,
but
so-
it's not gonna be part of our database for
Correct.
school tools.
And parents are, we're obliged to notify parents
So,
of this the day that it happens. So
Okay.
we are obligated to do that as well.
yeah, Lori, I apologize if I did read this the last time, but I haven't reread it. So is it written in the policy then, what the process is when you tap into an emergency intervention form, that it's kept in the principal's office? And it's filed and there's a process for that that's written in policy? Okay.
The form really does a nice job of guiding
Yeah, the form
administrators through the process
Okay.
as well.
Yeah, I just want, just for consistency.
Absolutely, yeah.
We need
We've
to
also
make-
talked in cabinet, principal's cabinet about this as well.
Okay.
And just as a positive for the district, and this is well before my time here, the district had the form already,
We
so we
did.
were actually ahead of this requirement,
Mhm.
having it documented.
We just had to change some wording, the document to make it cohesive with the, see that we have to change it. So.
Okay.
Question, comment, so actually brought to my attention, and if you go to 3A1, it says physical restraint may only be used in a situation of immediate intervention with physical force is necessary to prevent imminent danger of serious physical harm. Then if you go to 6, it says physical restraint must only be used by staff or trained pursuant to this policy. So it kind of contradicts itself, and my understanding is administration and special ed are really trained, no other teachers are trained. So there's a, for example, if there's a fight in the hallway, no teacher is going to respond under this policy because they're not trained in this. Is that correct?
We have that identified in the workplace violence prevention, and we read that at the last board meeting because we worked with the unions to identify language. They have a list of do's and don'ts on the workplace violence prevention, and it's what we did is when there's imminent danger and staff feels safe to do so, that was how we worded that policy that was approved.
But worded here, it says must only be used by staff who have been trained. So it contradicts that policy.
Yeah, but didn't we implement didn't we bring this up already? That's part of CPI, correct? Aren't we supposed to have everyone trained in CPI?
So it's not a requirement? So
Right.
We have special ed staff, administrators. Those folks are trained.
So that's a valid point because we've had that problem before. So if there's a school teacher, which we did have this happen already. Fight, a physical fight, and the teacher didn't feel like they could intervene because they weren't CPI trained. So I was under the impression that everyone, like during maybe retreat or whatever, that everyone was gonna be trained for CPI because it's hard to determine who's gonna be around when these things break out.
And I think that's also how it's interpreted. Is that since you're not trained, you cannot.
Yeah.
Take action, even if there's physical harm.
Holly, I'm trying to figure out where you are. You're reading.
So
1 and
3A.
6.
3A, 1 and 6.
So 3A1 is in alignment with the workplace violence prevention.
Physical restraint is only used by staff who have been trained pursuant to this policy. Yeah, so that's.
So I think we're talking about two different things here.
Yes.
So the CPI piece and the portion, this policy here addresses student behaviors in classrooms. Fights are in a different category. And I wish our CPI trainers were here because we have talked about this in many discussions where this isn't meant for breaking up physical altercations between two students or a group of students. These are interventions that happen in the classroom when a student needs interventions with their behavior, things like that, like in special ed work. So there's I can see the wording here is confusing though in a way.
Well, like a
because
fight,
if there's
a fight is voluntary. When kids get in a fight, it's
Correct.
voluntary. A behavioral intervention is for a kid that can't control their behavior.
But that can happen in the classroom where a teacher is not trained. And therefore cannot, under 6, it says they cannot intervene.
So is it my understanding, because I know we talked about this already, is it my understanding that a child that would need this type of behavioral assistance would not be in a classroom with a teacher that has not been trained to handle it? Is that right?
Not necessarily. Most of the time, if there is somebody trained, the student exhibits these behaviors. There is somebody in there.
So also this also goes to how it's interpreted. So that's how it's interpreted by teachers, is that they cannot intervene because they're not trained.
I know that the teachers provided input for the workplace violence prevention, which was specifically talking about fights, and we specifically changed that.
Yeah.
And I read it out loud at the board meeting to point out why we changed it. We did not point the behavioral intervention piece with that because they're two separate.
So Tina, if what you're saying, and I'm not saying what you're saying, not true, I'm just phrasing
No,
it
no,
this
that's-
way. If what you're saying is true, then can we, in this policy, clearly identify that this policy specifically, developed in the spirit of controlling kids that have either, IEPs or have emotional ED kids? Is it possible that we define that so that this policy is specific for that? And we don't have a kid that doesn't have an EAP or is not an ED kid, get into a fight and then a teacher says, well, I wasn't gonna say it because I'm not trained. Like, I think if you're saying that this is specifically for that type of student, then it should be clearly noted in that policy, because right now it's just students.
I don't think we're going to be advised to do that as far as that description of students, because it could be a student with a 504 plan.
Correct.
And gen ed kids could have a behavioral intervention plan. We are expanding the amount of teachers if they're asking for CPI. It is a costly program. It is something that you have to pay for annual, renewals every 2 years. And there's certain removal from the classroom to get the training. So there is an expense behind it. And we want to make sure that the people that are being trained are using it correctly.
You recall, Millie, too, a couple of years ago, we had a training, all of our staff, wasn't last summer, but the summer before, the beginning of the school year. We did the CPI training, the verbal interventions that we did, all of our staff were trained in that. And that's just to verbally intervene. So everybody did get an ounce of some training CPI, right?
But I think the concern is number 6 here. Can you modify I understand what you're saying, that you can't really
We can, because I think
legally.
legally, isn't that what it was, sorry. to
Can you
use
do something to that number 6?
I thought that legally, this is what we were told by the state, that this had to be word, this is like what we were recommended, and then we had it sent to the attorney, we put it out to the public for comments. And so I'm just throwing that out there. That was my understanding,
And you're correct in that we did receive this from our policy company as a requirement.
and how the wording was and all of that.
They sent us the example.
So I don't,
Well, I think we have an obligation to the community, like,
So as it's stated, with a contradiction, what is the intent behind it then? Clarify the intent, I guess, would be the question.
I think, Tina, your clarification was more related to the behavioral interventions and not breaking up a fight. That wasn't the intent of this policy.
Right.
But you could have behavior
mhm.
that warrants physical action in the classroom. It doesn't have to be a fight in the hallway, it could be a disturbance in the classroom.
That is up to the board, so it was up for voting for tonight, so I don't think.
Why don't we
we have a
table it
date on this one that was required. We have a date.
so we get a more specific answer from our policy committee? So is that everybody take a motion to table it? Is that how we do that, Michelle?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
perfect.
Yep.
Motion to table.
Second.
Oh,
Thank
motion
you.
second.
And second. Lori. All those in favor? Any opposed? Okay, it's tabled.
Whereas the Watertown City School District Administration and architects, King Architects, have determined that the window framing and surrounding exterior brick facade at the school district's North Elementary School Gymnasium is in need of immediate repair and or replacement. The project, and whereas the Board of Education of the Watertown City School District has considered the impacts to the environment of the project in accordance with the detailed scope of work prepared by its architect dated January 15th, 2024, and whereas the board has reviewed the scope of the proposed action and has further received and considered the advice of its architect with respect to the potential for environmental impacts resulting from the proposed action, and whereas the district has reviewed the proposed action with respect to the type 2 criteria set forth in N6 NYCRR part 617.5C 1, 2, and 3, and concluded that the project involves activities involving no substantial changes in existing structures or facilities, and replacement, rehabilitation, or reconstruction of structures or facilities in kind, and routine activities of an educational institution. Now therefore be it resolved, the Board of Education as follows. Number 1, the proposed action individually and collectively does not exceed thresholds established under 6 NYCRR Part 617 of the State Environmental Quality Review Act. Number 2, the board hereby determines the proposed action is a type 2 action in accordance with the SECRA regulations. Number 3, no further review for the proposed action is required under SECRA. And number 4, this resolution shall take effect immediately.
Can I have a motion, please?
Millie.
Millie in a second.
John.
John, discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Whereas the Watertown City School District's administration and architect team and architects have determined that as a result of a severe storm occurring January 9th, 2024, the window framing and surrounding exterior brick facade at the school district's North Elementary School Gymnasium is in need of immediate repair and replacement. And whereas the Board of Education has received and considered the option of its architect declaring the repair and or replacement of the window framing and surrounding exterior brick facade at the school district's North Elementary School Gymnasium in a public emergency necessary to preserve the life, health, safety, and welfare of students and staff. And whereas the school district's administration concurs that the repair and or replacement of the window framing exterior Birch facade constitutes an emergency project and that it is not possible to operate schools safely without a functioning gymnasium. And whereas the emergency project is essential for the protection of the health and safety of students and staff and for the protection of the school district's property. And whereas the Board of Education has declared that the project is a type 2 secret action that will have no negative impact on the environment. Now therefore be it resolved as follows. Number one, the Board of Education hereby finds pursuant to the education law that the repair and replacement of the window framing and surrounding exterior brick facade at the school district's North Elementary School gymnasium is necessary for the protection of the health and safety of the students and staff and for protection of the school district's property, and hereby declares the emergency project to be an ordinary contingent expense. Number two, the maximum estimated cost of the emergency project as determined by the district's administration and K&K architects is $450,000. The funding source for the emergency project will be unappropriated fund balance. Number three, the superintendent of schools and all officers and employees of the school district are hereby authorized and directed to take all steps reasonably necessary or enter agreements to complete the emergency project to carry out the intent of this resolution. And number four, this resolution shall take effect immediately.
Can I have a motion, please?
Go ahead.
Colleen, a second.
John.
John, discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
End of the resolution.
So right now, what is that look? I don't live in that side of town. So what does that look like?
Still plywood.
Oh, just plywood? Okay.
Are they able to use that, Jim?
Yes.
What did you say? Yes, they can or can't use it.
It was short up so that it wasn't, we have not received notification that they cannot use the space.
Okay.
Now, obviously, when they start construction, we're gonna have to approve them.
Okay.
Do you know like how long before we would be able to? How
I
long
know
usually
we're
it
waiting
takes?
I know they're moving quickly. This tonight's action was critically important to be able to move that forward. The state paperwork, King was on that right when the incident happened, so
Mhm.
applying for that. So we'll be able to move once we get some bids and stuff on the project.
Yeah, I just know that modified basketball uses that gym, so I'm sure that will be over probably before it starts.
And when a project's declared an emergency, SCD will approve that and on an expedited. Normally you get into the 8-week log or 12-week log of review, but these emergency projects get expedited for review and approval. So that's what we needed to get it done today. Get that ball rolling.
Okay, is there anybody in attendance tonight wishing to address the board for non-agenda related public comments? Dr. Kimball.
Yesterday was Martin Luther King's birthday, obviously. Most of you were not alive on August 28th, 1963, I bet, which was part of Washington, but I was, and the number 10 makes an important thing. Attendance at private schools run 10 times the amount in many areas of the South from 1954 to 1963 wide. And related to that, integration when Martin Luther King birthday was less than 10%. And they were related. Private school systems boomed in the South after the Board of Education was avoid integration. They thought it was mandated by God or whatever to avoid integration. White was extreme, they couldn't be relaxed. It's hard to understand that kind of issue. Really studied it or really learned it. I grew up in the North, went to school in South and University of Virginia. So I kind of understood a little later. My roommate's father was involved in integrating schools. He was a superintendent in Southern Virginia, and so he was involved in integrating school. Sometimes I did not really appreciate that. So it is important to remember that was in my lifetime. None of us are alive during slavery, but many people are alive. And of course, with anti-Semitic and racial events happening by thousands. So I think it's important to remember that because understand that this is real stuff that really happened in my lifetime. Now off this subject, people watching the TV last night heard some, Leah's week, or saw some really not so great numbers about the work in the school system. About math and reading scores. And so I don't know, I mean, I don't think you have a simple answer, but at some point. You want to respond to that and maybe increase funding, some districts are increasing tutoring. I'll see what's happened before, and at the same time about the governor talked about increasing phonics and stuff. I don't know if they're related, more time, I don't know what you've been doing for reading school. But I know at some point, is the school board going to react to that? I mean, it wasn't a good number, it wasn't a good look. And there's more funding, more intervention, more something. Dr. Smeagol was not here at that time. I think this board was done, I wasn't even here, so I don't know if things have changed this year or whatever, but. The fact that none of us are real happy about that number.
And we did
I-
just,
Go ahead.
we did put out a press release a week ago, 2 weeks
I
ago.
don't see it.
To try to be ahead of the data that was coming out. We outlined a list of things with Lynn's help. List of things that we're doing instructionally to address those scores. So we were trying to be ahead of that. We sent it to News Channel 7. And I believe Watertown Daily Times. So we can try pushing it out again, but there are.
I mean, times every day, I didn't see much, they covered, it was not real. The headline, the 29% scores got much more coverage.
They're always less interested in the solutions than they are the problem.
Well, I think we want solutions, I mean, it's important stuff. I mean, we have wonderful teachers and the school board, all you guys are enthusiastic, wonderful, and I think you do everything you can to improve, and you guys are volunteering your time, you all make zero, the board members make zero money, I know that.
Yeah.
You all are volunteers, so I know you weren't dedicated to helping the kids, you wouldn't be here.
So Dr. Kimball, let me address some of your concerns just from my perspective. First, on your comment of MLK, my daughter goes to boarding school in Boston, and what they did there is they took groups of students of 20 and they assigned them to a workshop, and every workshop had a theme. And my daughter got put in a workshop, which I found really, I'm not saying this in a negative way, but I was actually really surprised about the depth of what these workshops involved. And my daughter, who's 16, got put in a group that she needed to be able to talk about for an hour and a half, not just her, but her group. They talked together and then they reported like for 30 minutes what their feelings were. And she got put in a group that she had to be able to talk about the fact that her skin was brown. And how would she feel if someone called her queer? Yeah. And
It's been pointed out, not everybody had the same experience.
not everyone had the same experience. I mean, this school, it's a private boarding school. They have like 4,000 kids. And they put all these kids in these groups and they wanted, they sent letters to the parents. And what their goal was, is to make students feel uncomfortable so that they could identify with how people felt during segregation. And it was really effective because my daughter was very intimidated by that. And then she called me last night and it was one of the best things that she ever did. So I appreciate your comments about MLK. Second thing is, I agree with you. I had grave concerns about our reading scores and math scores, state scores. Then you threw COVID in there. I've said this before. That just, leveled everything for everyone. But what I would like to say, since I've been on this board and I got on this board in July, that was one of my main concerns. And I can tell you that I have talked to Lynn, I have talked to Dr. Smeagol, we've talked as a group. We've talked, Tina doesn't really have to do anything with curriculum, but she's like the last standing body from the previous administration, which is great for all of us. But we are making a concerted effort. And I can tell you that by Miss Ashley Burdo's presentation today, by her being able to deliver all that data, telling us where these kids stand in kindergarten, first grade, second grade, third grade, and fourth grade, is data that we need to work with. And one of the questions, and I didn't want to take up the time here because Jason always looks at me and have a question, but I am, and the other reason I really didn't feel like I needed it, but I'm bringing it up since you asked the question, is I was going to ask Ashley, what are we doing Like they're using iReady as a tool. They're using all of this, they're gauging, they're using the ARC program. So she's now at this level because you take tests at grade 4. So we need to prepare these kids from kindergarten. One of the things that I asked Lynn when she first came on board is, are you evaluating the reading tools that we have? And her answer was yes. We need to make changes. We need to make improvements, but we are addressing this. We are addressing at every level. And the end goal is our graduation rate. The best thing that has happened to the high school students is Portrait of a Student. Like that is a committed group of people that are focusing on how do we capture these students, where are their deficiencies, and what can we do to bring them to graduation. So we are really working on this. It's definitely not going to be fixed overnight, but I just want you to know that your concerns are being voiced on this board and we are addressing everything. But if we talked about everything for hours, Jason would probably kill all of us. So we have to gauge, but I want you to know, of course, I made a big stink a couple of meetings ago. The media only likes to show, what's the word?
Sensationalism.
Thank you. Sensationalism. And when we talk about the positive things that we're doing as a cohesive group, they're not really covering that. And that's really sad because we are doing a lot of things to improve. This has been a major goal. It is part of our strategic plan. There's things being put in place as we speak since the beginning of the year. And we're not going to be able to see that data, but we will see improvements. And you can look at the data that's being collected now. Our hope is that the next time we do state testing at grades 4 and 8, we're going to see an improvement. Is it going to be miraculous? No, but we need to see an improvement. So you are being heard.
How do you rule out a kid who, being a licensed, I do a lot of IQ testing. How do you rule out a kid maybe just has low ability? Like, how do you know the principal or this kid may have a little bit less IQ wise? If you have an 80 IQ, you're 6 months behind, you're doing really good. You're 120 IQ and you're on grade level. You aren't doing well.
And that's the problem. Standardized testing, kids aren't standard.
Yeah.
They all take the same test, but kids are not standard and they all come from different places. They all, some of them come with trauma, some of them come with multiple traumas. Our teachers have to deal with that every day. So, teachers almost have to develop an IEP for every kid in their classroom if they're trying to develop the whole kid.
So you have to kind of look at the whole, that is a perspective to look at. So you're seeing if the kids are learning disabled or just a low ability. I mean, it's important to roll that out.
I think that teachers are doing a really good job at that. I mean, she talked about interventionists and, they're talking about percentages. So if these kids are at a critical level, you're bringing in an interventionist. At the high school, we're doing open math lab and ELA with certified teachers. So all of these things that you're bringing up are being addressed. And I on a personal, and my bar's up here. We're here, my bar's up here, but we are doing a really good job. And these principals are working really hard to identify. Don't forget too, as a psychologist, the burden's on these teachers. Like when you listen to Ashley talk, and this is one of the things that came out at me, and these kids are having problems, right? They're at critical level. They're taking 10 minutes out of their day. They still have a class. And they're addressing that one little thing with that kid and working with that kid. That is a huge burden. That is a huge burden. Are we short-staffed on some of that stuff? Yeah, but the whole world's short-staffed right now. The work ethic after COVID has gone downhill. So, I think that we are, as an institution and as a whole, we're doing a great job in picking up on these kids, and we're providing more support for families and students. That fan club program and then the Wiley program that will probably, I'm hoping that they'll present. That's a great thing. That introducing STEM, introducing scrubs to a second grader, that opens up just opportunities beyond imagination at second grade. So I think that, you might be disappointed because the media is just covering, but if you want to do your comparison, you can look at the state of New York. You could look at the entire country. We are on par with the country. There's very, when you look at the bell-shaped curve, we're right on that. We're right there, right on the apex of that bell.
Lynn, I have a question that, because I think this got brought up last year when Millie actually had came to the board meeting, we talked about this. That graph or how they present it, it's not fair either because our school is much larger. Is that true? And if we get compared to a smaller school, is that, or how it's presented in the media, I'm saying, how that
Yeah,
article is presented?
I think there are a lot of factors that can influence how test scores come out. Like John said, kids aren't standard. We don't have the same demographics.
Right.
In Watertown as maybe with some of the surrounding districts do. So I think that maybe is what was referred
Yes,
to.
I don't feel it's a fair comparison based on demographics, based on, there's a lot of other things going on in our district that might not be going on in other districts to make the same comparison. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, and that's definitely true. What I will say is that what I see here when I talk to educators, when I talk to teachers, administrators, is they all have a very strong belief that no matter what background or any adversity that a child has faced, they can still learn. And it's our job to teach them and bring them up to that level. So that's the mitigating factor when you see schools move the needle for kids. So we already have that here. They just need some systems and support, some PD.
Yeah. And Dr. Kimball, I just want to let you know too, so with the portrait of the graduate thing, you say, you know, that we volunteer and all that. I actually am on the committee of portrait of a graduate. That happens during my workday. Like, that's how much we are invested into the school district to make sure that every child has the opportunity to learn and to grow. So when we do see those types of articles, it is very frustrating because we all have the same goal here and stand behind our administrators. The principal that presented tonight, full disclosure, she's my cousin. I'm super proud of her.
I know.
Like, and all of our administrators have her energy and are like that. And that's why we are successful with our teachers. It just, our numbers don't show it. So right now, but it will.
Yes. We're
Yeah,
getting
it
there.
will. It will.
But you should still bring it up.
Yes.
And I'm very happy that you brought up that question. I think it's very important that someone keep that alive. So thank you for your comments.
Yes.
I
'Cause we
love
just
that you
talked
come
about
every
it.
week. I love it. I do. I really do.
Millie, do you have anything else?
When you go around the town, yeah, I do.
I had to get that.
Around the town.
Anybody else want to say anything? Okay, very good, very good. Moving along the agenda, we had an item for discussion regarding Mr. Eisenhower, who spoke earlier. I'll start that, and if anybody wants to talk after me, you're more than welcome. But just for Mr. Eisenhower's consumption, the board has received an email from you on December 18th, 2023, in which you made requests of the board relative to the Roswell P. Flower Memorial Library. Wanted to acknowledge that and then ask my board members, are there any motions that any of you would like to propose based on that email at this time?
I'm confused. Motions like what?
So you're deciding if you want to act on the request, if you do not want to act on the request, with the understanding that you're waiting for the commissioner's response for the.
Oh, yeah. So I motion to not act on the request because we are waiting for the commissioner's response.
I do have some comments though that I think we should. He said some things I have not ever heard of before. So just for point of clarification, I just think that some of the things that Mr. Eisenhower presented tonight in his letter, I have not really, I wasn't on the board before, so I don't really know. But I don't really know what Judge McCluskey's ruling, he referred to Judge McCluskey's ruling. I don't know what that is. Then, I think, the other, he's presenting under the assumption, well, he's saying that the library is violating their open meetings law. So there's an assumption there that we have some power over the library. I don't believe that we do. I don't, but I think we should definitely look into that. He does make some kind of correlation there that I'm not really sure about. And then he also made, he said that the advice that judgments, I'm gonna have to go back and listen to the recording again, but we talked about some errors that were presented to Judge McCluskey, and I don't know what that is either. So I agree, we should wait and see what the state commissioner, what's advice. But I think as a board, some of these questions, I'd like to know the answer, like what exactly is he referring to? I have no idea what Judge McCluskey ruled.
And he did, just for the board's reference at 6:37 PM, he did send his script that he read tonight to Michelle and the board.
Oh, perfect. So then I can go back and do that. That would be my only.
So then any new questions, maybe we could take them under advisement from legal in an executive session.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
So are you seconding my motion?
We don't need a motion for it right now.
Oh, you just told me. I know. You just told me.
Any motions meaning comments, I suppose. Sorry.
He used the word synonymous. He did. Okay.
Great. Moving along, I have some upcoming dates, share with the community. Saturday, January 20th is our winter bi-county concert at Watertown High School, 2 PM. Friday, January 26th, early dismissal for K through 12 staff development. Tuesday, February 6th, we have our FAF meeting at 5 PM at the district office. And following that meeting, we have our regularly scheduled Board of Education meeting at the district office. We'll start with our interim vice president tonight, Converse. So.
I just wanted to say, thank you so much for your wonderful presentation. And is Val still here? Val, thank you for your presentation. Miss Weston already left, but thank her as well for me. It was very good. Yeah, no, it was awesome. I loved it. I love kids using their imagination and electronics. To the point is that's why I also think that our numbers are down in America. But anyway. So anyway, thank you for that. Actually, it was great. And I love all of our treats and everything. So thank you very much. That's all I have.
Kelly.
No, to second that. Thank you, Ashley. Great presentation. Mr. Datomi is not here any longer, but I want to thank him. Very impressive volunteering his time. Exceptional work. Thank him for that. That's it.
Awesome. John.
Some great things going on here. Love it. It's my favorite part of every meeting. I'd like to thank Dr. Schmiegel. I would say trial by fire, but it's actually trial by wind and snow and other things that Mother Nature can throw at you. And kudos to all of our staff for getting the snow cleared and our buildings safe and north buttoned up. And it's never an easy task when you're asked to go above and beyond, but exceptional job by all of our grounds crews and building crews. And so thank you to them.
They did a great job working around the clock yesterday to get us open today.
Really?
Okay, so just a few questions. Lynn, do we have any maker space programs within the district other than what's going on in the fan club?
I'm looking into that, be able to give you a number on that. There are some pieces around and things we purchased through the years, but I'm not sure how active they are right now.
Okay, the reason I bring that up is because that is definitely an innovative in the spirit of what Dr. Kimball shared with us. There is, and I will get you the information, there is a phenomenal makerspace program that is now being given to from it's called the Kids Museum in Washington, DC. And the director there is Cara Lesser. And she has created that program in Washington, DC and is contracted with several schools. It's definitely for school-age children. I think 1 through probably 8. And I read some of her reviews. She's amazing. So I'm going to give you that contact information because when the fan club brought up the makerspace, I was like, okay, triggered my memory. I've actually been thinking about this for a while. The second thing is Sally do we have a fund that we could tap into that would be able to provide transportation for these fan students? So I know that we do provide transportation for like sports programs, like when they have practice or whatever, but I think you mentioned something about having a special fund that we can just like tap into for different things. But how would that work if we wanted to provide transportation for these children, part of the band club?
Something like that would be considered, you would consider it an ordinary contingent expense. It would be in the general fund. It wouldn't have a separate source, so it would be part of the annual budget that you would be, would be a line item that would be budgeted for that expenditure. So you would have to plan for that. It wouldn't be, there's not a reserve set aside that you can draw down from. So you would just have to decide as a board that that's something that you would like to have budgeted.
Would it be feasible to explore the possibility of designating a reserve fund specifically to be used for different things that our school district may require, like something that would come up like this, or something new, that there would be appropriated funds there ready for use, so that when these programs arise, like I feel we need to invest in this. It's really sad that a good portion of kids can't come to something like this for transportation. So I'm just wondering, I mean, we can think about this, but I just want to put that out there. I think that, this is definitely worthwhile. And I don't really see the difference between athletes, some other programs having transportation and this not having transportation. So I just.
Right, but the athletic department's also budgeted within the annual budget, you can't set aside a specific reserve for that. That the obligation is to have it planned, appropriated and taxed or, aid as part of the normal annual expenditures.
There's probably logistics and timing issues that make it impossible. Could it tap into our late bus system? And I'm sure not just this building, but the other elementary schools, which take advantage of that as well.
Yeah.
Isn't it a problem though too, because we don't even really, this school, speaking from my children, both went to this school. And there's no buses really anywhere to this school, right? There's very minimum buses because it's within walking distance. Anyway, so most of the kids have to be transported by their parents anyway.
So that determines the aidable portion of transportation also, and what the district taxpayers would cover instead of being aided.
So the transportation issue, then if I didn't even think about that. So these parents, most of these kids are walking within walking distance, so they're not being bused here.
I don't have the information on the numbers of students that are bus students.
Yeah.
Parent students or walkers. Several of our kids did leave club and walk home, so I don't know that was.
Okay.
I can look that up.
So when we talk about transportation being a challenge, is it just simply that parents are working, it's too late, they can't find somebody to bring their kid home? Like, what is really the transport? If this area, if this school is mostly walkers, so then what is the transportation issue? Okay, I would love to do, because I'd love to help. Like, I think that, when there's a will, there's a way. You can try to figure something out. Your program is amazing and it should be supported.
So our next session will be. We'll start inviting people to our next session that'll be starting, and I'll find out specifically from parents find out what students are walkers or bussers.
Okay.
Yeah, because they have transportation at 3:15, but not at 4:15.
Right.
It's dark at 4:15 and parents don't
Already,
want kids walking home.
Populations, right, just so everyone knows, I know there's like 2 buses, but those are very packed buses that we. And then we have a special ed bus that leaves earlier, that has a nice number of students. To Vale's defense, I know that some of our parents just at that hour, like God saying, they don't want their kids walking. They just don't get.
Does it change in the spring when we have light till later on, or is it still the same?
So we're still fairly new. This is just,
Right.
we just finished our 3rd session, so.
Oh, okay, so you wouldn't know that yet. Okay. All right. And then the last thing I'd like to ask is really for Tina. Do you think that it would be feasible for you to educate the board on what the components and what is the purpose of having school tool? Because it is my understanding that there are a lot of components to it. It's a great database. I know some of the information that goes back out to the state comes from there, but from my personal knowledge, I would love for you to have like a presentation where you can tell the community, parents and teachers and the board what, you know, the worth of school tool and how much it really helps us and what kind of tool we have, because I think it's an amazing tool. I don't know. I've just heard bits and pieces and I know it's a great system, but I think that it would be worthwhile for the board and the community to hear a presentation on that.
We could invite someone to do a presentation at the board.
Thank you. That is it, President Harrington.
I'm trying to push his button.
All right. I'd like to welcome Mr. Flynn. Congratulations. Very lucky to have you. For the staff at Knickerbocker, do they still do a cakewalk at the Bear Fair? You not do that?
Is so I.
Really?
Oh, generational gap.
Boy, I won.
Because I won cake.
We haven't done it.
The last year they did.
No, because they
Did you
did it
win
when my
some
kids were
cakes?
here. 'Cause I won a couple cakes.
Yes, it hasn't been that.
No. it hasn't been
When
that.
I was in Mrs. Bivens' third grade, I won 2 cakes that year and it's still something I remember.
Oh, my goodness.
It was special. And I want kids to have that same memory. No, it's great energy over here. Very thankful for all that you're doing. Knickerbocker is very special to me. Not only because I was alumni, but my grandmother was a lunchroom monitor here. And she stood in the North Country weather for 18 years right on that corner. So when I'm here, I'm reminded of her and it's nothing but good memories.
That's awesome.
So I'd like to close on that and I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Millie.
Millie in a second.
Yeah.
Lori? All those in favor?
Nice. Thank
Any
you.
opposed? Motion carried.